Hello again. Today I am here with a book tag that the Reading Frenzy tagged me in. It is the BookTube scavenger hunt. I'll link his original video and I'll link the Library of Sarah, I believe. It's a channel that originated this BookTube tag. There are 25 books in this, or 25 questions in this, so this will take a while. First, find an author or title with the letter Z in it. Okay, for that one, I did Walking from East to West by Ravi Zacharias. This is basically a Christian apologist kind of author. I believe he was a Hindu who became a Christian, and it has Zacharias in the title. So that is a book. Next book. Find a classic. Okay, so a classic book. I picked The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. No explanation there. Find a book with a key on it. I picked this one. See the two keys? Slade House by David Mitchell. I wasn't really crazy about this book that much, but it has a key on it. Next one. Find something on the bookshelf, not a book. My mug that I got from my last Nocturnal Book Club. I love this mug. I really should be using it. I'm just leaving it here on the bookshelf. Okay. Find the oldest book on your shelf. This one I thought was really cool. If I could find the book. Here it is. It is a book I picked up at a basically kind of like a used book antique type of store. When I saw the publication date and what this is The Tragic Era, the Revolution After Lincoln. So basically a book about what happened after Lincoln in the Civil War. The book is from 1929. So it is the oldest book I own as far as actually published and printed, binded in 1929. For a book this old, it's actually in really good shape. I don't think I've ever read this book, but I'm just glad I have it. So that's the oldest book I have. Find a book with a girl on the cover. Okay, I picked this one because I wanted to talk about it, which is Piers Anthony Virtual Mode. This is a really cool book. I actually really like this cover. This is a really cool book about kind of going through alternate realities. It's a love story in here, and I never read the rest of these, and I really want to. I think I might actually want to be reading this, and if I see if I can find the other Mode books, because this one was such a good book from what I remember when I was young. I read this. This is from 1991, but Virtual Mode. Next one. Find a book with a boy on the cover. Secret Circle. This is the second book. I read these when the TV series came out, before Vampire Diaries came out. I bought Vampire Diaries. Liked L.J. Smith's books, bought a bunch of her books, and then also, read The Secret Circle. And then that came into a TV series. So, find a book with an animal in it. I'm going to use the same one that Reading Frenzy used. Meg by Steve Alton. Great book. Big animal. Works perfect. Next one. Okay. Find a book with a male protagonist. For that one, I used... What did I use? If I could find the book I used. Here it is. The Private Practice of Michael Shane. This is a very old... This book is actually from 1940. He is basically a private detective, kind of like Philip Marlowe, Mike Hammer, but not as well known as those two. If you remember, I had Joyland that I pulled that had like a little sticker there of like hard case kind of books. It was a series of kind of detective stories, and it reprinted one of Brett Holliday's old Michael Shane books. I really love that book, and I went on eBay and picked up a bunch of these. I probably have like maybe 10 or 14 of them. They were just really fun books to read. Look at the price, 35 cents. Um, it's a really cool book, though. Really cool book series. They're not in print anymore, sadly. Okay, let's see, next one. Find a book with only words on the cover. Okay, so this one is in our image, Americans' Empire in the Philippines. If you are interested in Philippines history, this basically takes you to the fall of the Marcos regime. From the beginning of American influence to that fall. This is a great, obviously, it's the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, but it is a great book. My wife is from the Philippines, so I was definitely interested in the Philippines. I picked up this book and loved it. This is a great history book. If you want to know about the Philippines, I actually wish there were more books post Marcos about the country. They're kind of few and far between, but this is a great book. Next book, let's see. Find a book with illustrations in it. Okay, I'm going to use Cycle of the Werewolf again, so I get to show off the cool illustrations again. I can't wait to read this book. I'm probably going to read this in my next month. It's just some cool illustrations in this book. That is Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf. Next one. Find a book with gold lettering. Okay. Mary Lou's Legend has gold lettering. Nice gold lettering. Here we go. That's simple. Find a diary. Okay. I used this book, The Martian, because he does log files, which are kind of like a diary. So I felt like this kind of fit. Again, really good book. I can't wait to read his newest one I just hauled. Okay, find a book with an author that has a common name. Okay, I picked this one. Pork Pie Hat by Peter Straub. Peter is obviously a very common name in my mind. I actually like this book. It's a cute little short story. Got this from my Nocturnal Book Club a while ago. Pork Pie Hat, Peter Straub. How do you say Straub? Next one. Okay, next one. Go to the next page. Find the list here. Find a book with a close-up of something on it. Okay, so that one, I decided to pick. If I can find a book. Let me see. It would be. Give me a sec. Let me see. Here, is this it? Here it is. Okay. Lesser Dead with that close-up of that hand. This is such a cool cover. I love this cover. And a really good book. Okay. Find a book with stars on it. Okay. For some reason, this was really hard for me to find. But luckily, I do have books. And it is the Star Wars Rogue One Ultimate Visual Guide. There are stars in the top of this book, and it actually has a star on it, so there are stars on the cover. So to me, that counts. Cool. I am a Star Wars geek. I don't really talk too much about it. I wasn't really crazy about the current movie, so I don't really want to get into it. Next one here. Let's see. Okay, find a book that takes place in the farthest time period. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one, Between Two Fires. I was originally going to pick Pandora by Anne Rice because I think that's Egyptian, but I couldn't find the book, so I said, well, this is, Black Death, 1300s. That was the oldest one I could find. Never thought I'd be talking about that book again. Okay, find a hardback without a dust jacket on it. Okay, for this one, I could have used the oldest book, but I wanted to use a different book. So, The Exorcist, which I have not read. And this book I've had, well, since I was born. I think this book was, my mother had this book. It's actually from, I believe it's the first edition, from 1971. So I have never read this book, but it does not have a dust jacket. I wonder what the dust jacket was. That's the book I have. Okay, find a teal or turquoise color book. Oh my god, this was so hard. I do not have any teal or turquoise. So I kind of cheated, I guess, in a way. I used a desktop book. What do you call them? Coffee table book. Which is India. I got India and China. This is basically, it's just general, coffee table book about the country, and the society, and a lot of nice pictures. And it was cheap. This was back when Borders was still around, so this was actually a cheap Borders book, I believe. And it's teal. That's that one. Next one. Find a book with find a non-YA book. Which is a ton of non-YA books, but I wanted to pick up something different. So, Anno Dracula by Kim Newman. No one could consider this a YA book. This is basically a retelling of the Count Dracula story. But what if Van Helsing failed and Dracula's plan to conquer was successful? In 1888, the widow of Windsor has remarried, taking as her new consort Vlad Tepes, the Wallace prince infamous known as Count Dracula. A new medieval era has arrived, and the enemies of the crown impaled in front of Buckingham Palace. Like I said, alternate history, basically. I'm not actually crazy about this book, to be honest with you, but it is a very popular book. Popular vampire book, Anno Dracula. Let's see. Next one. We're getting there. 14, 15, 20, 21. Find the longest book I own. Again, I'm going to wind up copying what other people have done and pick my version of it. Obviously, you can see this was when the TV movie came out, because you got Tim Curry on the cover. This particular one is obviously over 1,000 pages. This version is like 1,090 pages, but huge book, great book. Okay. Find the shortest book I own. Pulling up another Star Wars book here. Star Wars The Force Awakens. Incredible cross sections. This book is roughly 45 pages. Basically just schematics of the different ships. Yes, I am a Star Wars geek. And it is actually the shortest and the biggest probably book I own. But I counted that as the shortest book I own. Okay, now find, let's see, a book with multiple POVs. For that one, I picked, if I can find it in here. Let me see where that one is. Here he is. I picked Carve the Mark. Now, it's basically 2 POVs, but it's more than one. So I picked Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. That's my multiple POV book. Find a shiny book. This is one of those wonderful 80s books. This is called Shadow Show, which is basically kind of like a haunted theater. And as you can see, it shines very shiny. The midnight movies of Shadow Show Theater in the small town of Gatlin, Georgia. The new owners offer thrills found nowhere else. Savage sex and blood-curdling violence that went beyond any X rating. Yep, that's 80s already, or at least early 90s. Probably 90s, I bet. Let's see. Oh no, 1988. But Antonio, Bandon didn't warn the men, women, and teenagers who streamed into the Shadow Show that it was themselves they would see acting out the horrors on the screen. And these horrors weren't make-believe. They were previews of what was to come when the lights came on and the real nightmare descended over the town. Okay, I enjoyed this book from what I remember. I don't remember much of it, because obviously it was read a long time ago. But there it is, Shadow Show by Brad Strickland. Nice and shiny. There were a lot of shiny books in the 80s. Okay. Find a book with flowers on it. Okay. Another YA book. Evermore, a novel. I actually never read it. During when the Twilight series was around, I picked up a bunch of YA books, and some of them, a lot of them I read, but this one for some reason I never got to. So there it is with flowers. One day, who knows? Maybe I will read it. But that's it. I made it. If you stuck through to the end, more power to you. This probably looks like a horribly messy video since I don't edit. But thanks again for watching. Thank you, Reading Frenzy, for tagging me. I don't, usually tag other people, but I do enjoy getting tags. So I don't know if I want to put anybody through the torture. No, it was fun. Actually, it was a lot of fun to do this. I will see you soon. Thanks again for watching. Bye.